Hey dreamers, welcome to Dreamers Unite, the talk show for dreamers. On this show, we will be exploring our dreams. How do we create a dream? Where does the seed come from? We'll be sharing information, affirming dreams, and most importantly, I think, is dream manifestation. How in the heck do we live our dreams with no excuses and no apologies? Well, today I have a very special guest. She's a mom, a wife, sought-after public speaker, mentor, and most importantly, she's my friend. Shirell A is one of the most influential Black lawyers in America. She's had a successful career with Fortune 500 companies, and now she's taking a break from corporate America to follow her dream of becoming an author. Her upcoming book is about lessons learned from her upbringing, personal hardships, accomplished career, and community service. And I am absolutely thrilled to bring this amazing woman to you. Welcome, Shirell.
Thank you
Dreamers
so
Unite.
much. This is so lovely.
Thank you. Well, listen, what's really lovely is you are starting a book.
Yes.
And I'm going to jump right in, or I want you to jump in right into that because, hey, this is a talk show for dreamers.
Right.
And what gave you the turning point, I should say, for you to say, I'm going to leave my job right now or take a break
Yes.
as an attorney
Yes.
and live your dream, as I say, out loud.
Right. And I can honestly say that I don't think I had a dream of being an author. So, there are people that dream of being an author and then they follow their dreams. I always dreamed about being a lawyer, and I was, and I loved it. And I enjoyed practicing law, and I enjoyed helping people. But then I've learned so much through my law practice, through working in corporations, through personal hardship that I had to undergo along with my family. And for years, my husband actually, for 15 years, he's asked me to write a book. And it wasn't something I necessarily thought about doing, quite frankly. And then over the years of mentoring, people would say, why don't you put that in a book? Or you should write a book. And then you do get to a point in your life where you start to say, what legacy do I want to leave behind? And how can I tell people something that will be inspiring that I can't get to everyone on my own?
Yes.
And so that was sort of the catalyst to say, I will write a book. And I did start to write the book about a year and a half ago, but managing a career and family and writing a book was very difficult. And so I got to a point in my career where I felt, I'm good. I've done this for a while and I could do something else. So it was the perfect break time to say, let me focus on the book.
Speak to how a dream can change and how that happened for you.
We think about dreams as a static place. Like you have a dream, and this is my dream, and it's the only dream I'm going to have. But that's not true for everyone. I mean, it could be true for some people, but it's not true for everyone. And so I think it's important to sort of understand that and go with it. And I think sometimes when dreams are not fully formed, we just stop. But we have to understand that when you're not in a place where you are right now, and you know that this is not where I'm supposed to be, that's half of the information you need to keep moving, right?
Yes.
You may not know exactly where you're supposed to be, but you know where you're not supposed to be. And so you keep moving in a direction, and you try a little bit out here and there, and eventually it'll start to reveal itself to you.
Right.
And I'll do an analogy. As a lawyer, you give advice, you help people get to where they want to be, you make decisions, you're a problem solver. And the best advice I had was for a client, and he said, I think you could do so much more than law, and because you're using the same skills that you used in law, right? So that's what I decided to open up my life coach and executive development business, because it's the same thing I did as a lawyer, right?
Yes.
So it's a different dream. It's the same thing with the book. And so I think it's really important to understand that dreams can change, and you may not know everything, but you just take one step towards something that you like. One step, and eventually it will manifest itself. But reality is God sometimes doesn't reveal it all to us during our time.
Yes.
And that's okay too.
It's so true. And sometimes, as we talked about,
Yes.
you have to do what you don't want to find out what you do want.
Absolutely.
Because I think the biggest thing is oftentimes with
Yes.
changing your dream
Yes.
is that sometimes it's because you really don't
Yes.
know what it is that
Exactly.
you want.
Exactly.
So being able to identify
true.
with that is sometimes do a lot of things, you
That's
may
right.
not want to do it, but maybe that will actually help you find out
Yes.
what it is that you really want.
Absolutely.
Can you give us a little preview of what you're going to be sharing in the book?
Yeah. So the book is partly memoir and it's partly sort of lessons in life. And we made it a memoir because often the way people identify with people is through their stories, and it's important to tell your story.
Yes.
I can't say that I've always done that. I mean, I had a lot of tragedies with children that I gave birth to that didn't make it, and that was in the Parents magazine, and that was a very vulnerable time to tell my story. And so after a while, I thought it's important for people to understand that what they see every day, it takes a lot to get here, number one. Number two, I'm not perfect. And number three, I have insecurities and vulnerabilities. I have fears. The difference is, what do you do in the face of them? And so the book focuses on my upbringing and my mom, who was really 14 years old and finished in the 8th grade when she gave birth to me. And she's just a fierce person. And I wanted to give her honor by doing this book. The book is not really about some downtrodden single mother who had to do A, B, C, and D to make it in life. It's really about ambition and how ambition shows up in so many different forms. But also, it's also about how ambition sort of drives our beliefs. And it's really important to focus on our belief system and what we believe about ourselves, what society says about us, and how we incorporate that in our day-to-day decisions, and how all of that is related to the ambition that you display in your life. And so it's a fascinating book. I'm looking forward to it. We're very raw. We tell some very vulnerable stories. We talk about us losing our children. We talk about corporate America and how it's tough for Black women and women of color in corporate America. But we also have lots of stories of victory and perseverance and resilience and beauty. And so it's really going to be a great book. And I'm hoping that I can instill in others the desire to just keep moving and understand that it's all doable. Life is a journey, and life is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
When many people hear, right, teenage mom, we all go to the place of, oh my gosh, what must you have gone through? Number one, how did being raised by your 14-year-old mom, right, and you already said she inspired you.
Yes.
But how did that impact you to become the woman you are today? And then we'll talk a little bit about where you want the book to help people.
If you're 14 years old and you have a young kid, my mother, she went right back to high school. So she was a rising freshman. And she went back to high school in September, and she graduated on time, she always brags about that. And I graduated on time,
That's right.
But what it told me is that it's strength, and we have a huge family, and so she had her sisters, I had my aunts, I had my uncles, and so and my mother always looked for opportunities to put her daughter in, to give her the exposure that she may not have been able to do on her own. And during the journey with the young mother, you also meet other people who want to be part of your journey because they want you to succeed. So through high school, meeting people who are almost godfathers to me, through college with my dean who helped me get out of college, and I was blocked every semester because there was no tuition to be paid at the end of the semester. So I think she taught me about never giving up, but in a way that's not like harsh, but in a way that's really kind and just super resilient. And she also taught me about taking people where they are, because there's no judgment. And I know she was judged, and I know I was judged. And when you look at what I became, and you don't give up on people, you don't throw people away, and you invest. And I think for me, it's about investment, and it's about you don't throw people away.
Okay, I've got to throw this out to the viewers, because one of the things we like to do at Dreamers
Yes.
Unite is I'm gathering nuggets,
Yes.
even to help me,
Yes.
motivate myself,
Yes.
reach my dream.
Yes.
And really in honor of your mom, number one,
Yeah.
never give up,
Yes.
okay? Be determined, but it doesn't have to be in the way, like you said, this negative
Right.
sort of run people over
Yes.
determination.
Yes.
And invest in people.
Yes.
No judgment.
Yes.
No judgment.
Yes.
So I'm giving you these nuggets. There you go. I hope you're catching them. And that's in honor of your mom.
Yes.
And you have that same drive
Yes.
and beautiful spirit.
Yes.
And I know you're probably passing that on to your children. So
Yes.
what pieces that your mom has given you,
Yes.
like how are you planting that seed and instilling that into your boys?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my boys, they think I'm pretty tough. And I have to be tough because I'm raising 2 African-American males.
Amen.
And I'm getting them ready for this world and for this
Yes.
world to be successful.
Yes.
I am not one for excuses. I'm not doing homework. I've been to 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, 12th, not doing it. And I feel that their father and I have provided for them a great platform for them to make it in this world, and it's their job to make it.
Yes.
And so I'm pretty tough on them. I want them to be accountable. I want them to understand and be grateful. And I think my mom instilled that in me in terms of not giving up. And my mother is not an excuses person. So you don't go to her with whining about stuff, because it's sort of like, okay, that is what it is, and just get up and deal with it.
Mhm.
So I try to instill that into my boys. But of course it's different. I mean, she's not the same with them as she was with me.
Yeah, I was gonna say the grandparents
Never
are
the
never the
same.
same. Are you kidding?
Because I'm like, oh, really? You said that to them?
Yeah.
But I do instill that in them. But I also try to instill a sense of acceptance into them, because your home is where you should be lifted up. And they should never feel that I am not on their side. And I think that sometimes as parents, we miss it and don't make the right balance. We either are too hard and don't praise, or we praise way too much. And so we have to find that right balance. But we have to be, you have to be tough. You have to make tough decisions as a parent.
While we're talking about this parenting, and I don't know if you saw When They See Us, or you're familiar with
Yes.
it, with the Central Park
Yes.
5, it's how can we not be involved in the
Yes.
conversation,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And as a mom,
Yes.
and certainly as an attorney
Yes.
who knows the legal system,
Yes.
there are, listen, this is still happening.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
though it was happening then, and we're saying, oh, okay, that was in the 80s, wow, everything has changed. No, it really hasn't.
Right.
What advice can you tell them? So history does not have to
Yes.
repeat itself, certainly, to be played out in the
Right.
same manner that it
Right.
was so tragically,
Yeah.
but they turned it into a triumph
Yes.
for these young men. So what advice can you give the parents and also to the boys or children?
Well, I mean, I've had the benefit of a long legal career, but I started my career actually as a prosecutor in 1992. So I was in law school and in New York while this was playing out. And it really hurts my heart to know that being in school at the time, and we all were pretty great advocates at the time, and really not fully understanding and appreciating what was happening right in our face.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about that, some of my colleagues from law school, we talk about that now, that this was going on right in front of us and we didn't know. And I started as a prosecutor with the intention of going into the system knowing that I will not judge in the same way others will judge, because I will see the defendants and the victims as human beings. And much like I was. And I enjoyed my career as a prosecutor, and I learned a lot of people skills. But at the end of the day, I think for parents, it's important to tell your children that at all costs, if they are stopped or if there's questions, they need to make sure that they contact their parents and they contact an attorney. What I also recommend, and I got this idea, wasn't my original idea, 2 lawyer friends of mine who are private attorneys, they have these little cards And what they do is they give those to their clients, and basically the card talks about, I am not speaking with you and I am going to contact my lawyer. Or if they are not allowed to make a phone call, they give that card, this is my lawyer. And so it's crystal clear that once representation has attached, you're not allowed to speak to anyone. I do what all black mothers do when they have black boys. You know, you teach them how to drive in a car, you teach them don't say anything, you teach them that, especially with me, we live in a predominantly white community, that you can't do what they do. You can't run around Macy's looking crazy.
No, you cannot.
You need to just act like you buying something.
And really, some parents, even though we think they know, right, not to talk, or you think your kids will say, we say be quiet, but I love the idea of this card, because that's also a reminder for them, because sometimes when you are stopped and you're in such a severe situation, you're nervous, you're scared, you don't know what to do. I think that's a great piece of advice legally. Because certainly, you know, jail, it can be a dream killer. A dream stealer. And certainly for something you didn't do.
I mean, one lawyer I had him come speak to a bunch of mothers, and what he said to me was, I'll never forget it, he said, we need to teach our kids that they are not to think independently or think at all if they're in that situation. You teach them to be robotic. I need to speak to my parents. I need to call my lawyer. I have a lawyer. Don't say anything else. And that is what the kids need to do, period.
I'm going to stay on this legal side for just one more minute. So when you have an idea, how do you protect it? You know, and is there a time where you start feeling, okay, I'm safe now, I can share this idea? What are just some practical steps, because we have a lot of dreamers out here that are going to be creating or already have and have many ideas. And it's all about intellectual property. You need to own it. And there are people that do take ideas, especially with this, you know, we're internet era, right? We're putting everything up. We're not sure if we're protecting our stuff. Before you know it, somebody else has manufactured it or they have your show idea. So what advice can you give?
You know, it's interesting. As a lawyer, you're always very cautious about giving like snippet advice.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to say,
and then you pick the biggest topic in law, intellectual property.
Yeah, I know. These are just little practical steps.
I mean, honestly, practically, there are so many different sort of free resources that you should go on, and like Volunteer Lawyer for the Arts is there. You know, VLA is a great organization.
Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts. It works. It works. I'm being represented now. VLA. So shout out to VLA. I mean, I will call VLA. I would look at resources that you can read about. And then often trying to get intellectual property attorney is very expensive. And if you're first starting out, you just simply probably don't have that. But if you use common sense, let's start with that, because that actually, most people get in trouble because they just simply didn't use common sense, right? And so you have to be very careful who you share your ideas with. And you have to be very careful not to send things to people without the headers and the caution. And you need to make sure that when you're sending something out to someone, that you send it in a protected way. But I would just contact places like VLA. I would look on their website, because there's so many different forms of IP, like copyright, there's trademark. There's so much.
And most people only focus on copyright, but there's also the trademark. And that's also important not to forget.
I am creating, as you know, and you've been one of my supporters, Cherry Red Seed Escape. And it's about a mom and a wife who's trying to figure it all out. She's trying to balance, right? Like you are. So what advice can you give me as I'm on this journey to continue sort of this balancing act and juggling act of, you know, mom and wife, and to stay focused and not to be pulled in so many different directions as I'm, you know, building my empire and moving towards launching this TV series.
Well, I mean, the only advice I could probably give you is probably what you're doing anyway, which is honestly staying focused on your path. I think, I mean, you and I are both in the same situation. I'm doing a book, but I'm also building a business at the same time, a speaking business and an executive leadership development business. So it's really hard because you are pulled in a lot of different places. But what I try to do is I'm realizing when I don't take the time to meditate and to pray in the morning and spend time with God and spending time with myself for just 15 minutes, I am completely off balance. And so I'm trying to get better at that. And I'm trying to do the things that I must do today. And it's easy to get distracted because actually distraction is a comfort.
Yes.
It's a comfort.
It's true.
So you go put the load of laundry in, and it's a comfort because it's something you can easily do. Building a dream is hard work. And so you have to decide, what do I need to get done today? And you just simply need to do it. But you also have to prepare your family and your friends of the space that you're in. Prepare them and say, this is what I need for the next so-and-so days. You know, I'll be gone in July because I'm getting my life coach certification. I'm not going to be here in July. And so you have to prepare your family for where you are and what you need from them.
So, dreamers, and that's me too, staying focused. I think this nugget for me anyway is really huge, and I'm throwing it to you, is prepare your family, prepare your loved ones, prepare your friends, because people don't always understand, and I'm going to take that with me. Last question for you. What is your greatest obstacle or that you've been through? And what did you learn from it? What can you share with our viewers?
Well, I mean, my greatest obstacle that I've been through would be definitely, losing my babies. I've lost 3 babies in the span of 10 years. They were stillborn. And that was a really dark time. And I, between my oldest son and my youngest son, that's when the babies were born. But what I learned from it, I learned love. The love that I got from my church. Oh my goodness, the love that I got from my sorority sisters, Delta Sigma Theta, and the love that I got from my Jack and Jill of America family, my friends. That I just learned so much love, and I was at such peace. I was on bed rest for 9 months with my youngest son, and I took away from that just all love. I mean, when I think about those experiences now, for a long time it hurt. I cried, but now I just smile because I think about everything that happened that made us the people who we are today. But to show a little boy, my oldest son at the time was 8.5 when Caleb was born. So during this time, that's my youngest, Caleb. My oldest is Mark. During that time, he's going through all of this, and I'm not really realizing for a young kid what that means. But what he learned watching, one, his parents still stay together, love each other, persevere, and he saw all this love. You can't get a better lesson than that.
And you know what? I believe there's love really can conquer all. And that there really are 2 motivating factors, either fear or love. So choose love.
We're going to build a vision board. So together. So you have your dream of this book coming up, and you have many other things. And so that's the segment we're going to go to next. And we're going to see what you create visually. And
do I have to draw?
You don't. We have pictures and
nightmare.
things. No, we have pictures and things cut out for you already. So it's coming up next. Dream board.
Nice.
So if you've watched a few Dreamers Unite shows, you know that we play dream games. And one of the things that we do is we create vision boards. Hopefully for you and for me, I know it is fun. And hopefully it's going to be fun for Shirell. It's not. Hopefully we'll get Shirell to do this in her everyday practice. She'll love it so much here. We're starting with the pursuit of happiness, right? And what does that mean to you? And we already have some images here. I'm just going to start it off for you and say, you have such a close relationship with your mom. And again, with vision boards and dream boards, really the images, the words, the pictures, they represent something special to you, something that you maybe have in your life and you want more of, or something maybe you don't have and you want to go after. So I'm putting that down first, and you go ahead and tell me, and I will stick on for you what you really connect to, because that's the thing about dream boards. Go ahead and pick up something. You have to be able to connect because this is rise and grind. And why do you connect to rise and grind?
Because I'm an early riser,
Okay.
and I like to wake up early, and I like to just get right into it and grind.
Okay. And what does grinding mean for you?
Grinding is just hard work, and I think when you're following a dream, it's a lot of work. It's not going to just fall from the sky, so you got to get up early, and you just got to get to it.
You got to get up early and rise, and pick out another image for us. So imagine that you'll be looking at this every day, because the more you see it, the more you believe it, the more it can happen. And this is...
somewhere maybe in Alaska.
Okay. And why is this attractive
house.
to you?
Because when you're following a dream, it's going to get cold sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel cold, and it's going to feel lonely, like you see like there's nothing around, but there's protection always. And so you always have to just find your protection, whether there's prayer, comfort of friends, but it's going to get cold.
You don't always have to take it to the obvious, like,
Yes.
oh, I want to go to Alaska, or I want to travel.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
And what was your other?
So my other is, it looks like some type of solar.
Okay.
picture.
And why is this attractive for you?
Because we don't always know what's in our capabilities or what we are able to do. So you just have to go beyond what you can see. And so this is Earth, I guess, or the moon or something, but this is beyond what we can see, right? So you have to go beyond what you can see.
And you know what? That's really what dreams are all about, right? We're going beyond what we can see.
Yes.
Shirell, we're gonna fill this up.
Yes.
Before you leave, we're gonna keep filling this up and keep going on. And we welcome you to come back to Dreamers Unite. And we hope that you're creating your vision boards with us and you're going beyond what you can see. I'll see you next time.